Wellness to Greatness. If you have listened to part one of my conversation with Beverly Jensen, you now have a better understanding of what EMFs are and why this conversation is starting to matter more, especially for families and our children. But awareness alone can sometimes leave us feeling a little unsettled. I don't know about you, but even the conversation showed some form of hope, maybe some answers to some of our pain and discomforts. It still brought a little bit of fear in me, a little bit of uncertainty, because I needed to know, well, what can I do? How can I fix this? And that's what we're going to be talking about in this episode today. And it's not to overhaul your life, let it take over with fear. It's not to make you feel like you're doing something wrong. It's just making these small adjustments bit by day so we can live a healthier, longer life with more vitality. So in this episode, we gently explore what this could look like in your day-to-day life in a way that feels realistic, supportive, and actually doable. Because the goal here isn't perfection. It's about small intentional shifts that support your home, your health, and your nervous system over time. So in this part of the conversation, we're diving into simple strategies and ways to reduce exposure to radiation. And what actually matters most is how to approach this without adding more stress to your plate. All right, let's dive in.
This podcast is raw, unscripted, and sometimes uncomfortable. But that's the point. We're here for open conversations and guided moments that help you realign with yourself through mind, body, and spirit, backed by science, so you can reconnect with what matters and build stronger relationships without perfection or pressure. Align, connect, empower.
If someone is listening and thinking, okay, I want to be more mindful of this, but I don't want to add more to my plate. And also it's someone who uses technology a lot, whether it's for their work, like maybe they're at their desk all day on a computer, like they can't just throw everything out the window and say, I'm free, and then they lose their job. So what are a few simple, realistic changes that we can carry or we could start with?
The every home that I've gone into has put, we mentioned this initially in the interview, has put the router square in the middle of the living room next to the TV. A couple of cases, one case, it was in the bedroom, which is even worse. But the router needs to be moved to the least used room. I like the utility room or the garage. And then if you're renting and if you own the home, you should, and this goes beyond what I can discuss, but there's lots of YouTube things on how to do this. Wire your house so that you've got ports in different rooms of the house and to plug in your devices. But if you're renting or it's a temporary situation, put the router in the least used room and then run an Ethernet cord across the house. Cover it up with rugs so people don't trip on it. And I use plenty of devices, but there's no Wi-Fi. I've got an Ethernet cord into the computer. I do not let the printer go into the Wi-Fi mode. It's wired. So anyway, the router should also be shielded because the radiation level is extremely high and it's unnecessary. I have used aluminum screening. You get a roll for $10 at the hardware store to replace the screen door or screens on the windows. Make sure it's a metal, they have a whole lot of plastic, fake screens. Has to be the true metal screen. And I have wrapped that, some of the routers, one router, it looked like the Leaning Tower of Pisa. It looked like a piece of art. But there's nothing on the market where you could put that into a Faraday box, Faraday cage. So I get the aluminum screening and wrap it around the device 2 or 3 times, top and bottom, and you can just use the scissors and cut a hole there to put in the cords. I reduced the radiation on that router from 297 milliwatts per square meter to 3,000. I reduced it by 97%.
Wow.
By wrapping screen you pick up at the hardware store for a few dollars. And then because I mean upstairs I was looking like Saul. I was wearing a
Saul's brother.
shield. Yeah, I was wearing a shield all the time for the few days when I arrived at this house and discovered a new router was downstairs. Anyway, so, and then even with 2 or 3 layers, and I think it was 3 around that, we still had enough radiation coming upstairs to use cell phones and use a couple of laptops. And I wasn't being poisoned. And the fellow who lived in the slept, whose bedroom was above the office with that router, was able to sleep better. So, and you put a timer on the router, another $10, and set the timer to turn it off an hour or 2 before bedtime. So you calm the house down and everybody will sleep better.
I love that.
So yeah, that's the first step, as to remove the router from the highest traffic areas. Then I would focus on the bedrooms. And as I said, the bedroom has to be a sanctuary for sleep. And that means, and this, depending on the age of your children, this is a good time when they're young, to start putting in these rules and establishing habits that are healthier for everybody. But there should not be wireless devices in the bedrooms at all. And the baby monitor and the Alexa and Echo, those devices are the highest amounts of radiation. I went to one home, they called me. I don't do this anymore because it takes me too much to recover from it. But in one home, the children had been given a little Alexa type device, a little panda bear, to read them stories at bedtime. And this was at Christmas. They called me in February and says the kids aren't sleeping. And so I took the meter over to the house, and the radiation levels on that little, I called it bad panda, 250,000 milliwatts per square meter.
Wow.
No wonder, and this is 6 feet from the kids' heads. No wonder they weren't sleeping.
No kidding.
So there should be no electronics in the kids' rooms.
Now, does that also count for non-Bluetooth items that are like sound machines that have no light, just noise?
White noise devices.
Yeah.
I can't answer it because I don't know which one it is.
Okay.
Which brings up another question. I mean, another point, that we're living in an age now where I truly believe that you need to get a very good radio frequency monitor, and it should be considered a necessary household appliance. As so many things are coming into the market now, we don't even know they've got a chip in them. And with the smart meter outside the house, you can be creating your own sea of radio frequencies without even knowing it, because I mean, they're putting chips on outdoor barbecues. I mean, who needs it? It's absurd, but it's happening, and they're putting chips and on not only the TV, but the refrigerator and the toaster, the vacuum cleaner. They're putting chips into all of these devices, which then are, I mean, in personal care products too. A very good source told me that they've actually put chips in some of women's tampons.
Wow.
I mean, it's nonsense, but it's really affecting our health. And until you have a meter, uh, you're not going to know most of this, until somebody gets sensitive to it, like me.
Hmm.
You go around and you'll know what thing is hot. Yeah,
Well, and I think too is that it's possible that people have a sensitivity already to it, but haven't recognized that maybe that is part of the problem, you know?
absolutely.
And it's worth at least reducing, doing some of these preventative things just to see how you feel. It might
Yeah,
significantly change things. And the problem is with my house is that I have wooden floors. It's creaky. It's an old house. So the white noise machine is important for my sanity, for my kids to fall asleep. And but looking into a radio frequency monitor can maybe help me find the right one where there's no radiation or close to nil, So then and then make sure it's not close to their head. Maybe it's high up, put in a corner somewhere, but something so that they can sleep soundly. Because I tell you, when we lose electricity at night and everything goes quiet, they are up and they are snuggling in bed with me and I'm getting no sleep. So, so I hear you, but it really, I don't know if you noticed, but I threw my phone and my watch across the room while we were talking. So I'm like, I'm going to be a little more mindful here. But yes, this is really
yeah.
interesting. Go
Let's
ahead.
talk about though making an experiment in the bedroom. Try unplugging all devices, especially if children need to be convinced that this is necessary for their well-being. And unplugging all devices in the bedroom, and try it for 3 nights, and then hear whether the folks are sleeping better.
Mm,
And doing an experiment like this can help get everybody on board
right.
with changing habits.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think the other thing too is that my kids, especially when we moved into this new home, because we moved here almost 4 years ago from a different province, they were scared of the new space. It was unfamiliar. So I had gotten their music machine with a light, um, so they would feel safe. And we never changed it since then. And whenever the electricity goes out, it goes dark. And it's really dark because I have the blackout curtains in their room. And I've, so I think that's part of it. So maybe if I could find a little nightlight in a far corner or something instead.
Yeah, and the nightlight would, of course, if electricity goes out.
Yeah, then regardless, either or, they'll be sleeping in my room. But at least when the electricity is going, that's interesting. Okay. And what about cell phones? You mentioned, like, yeah, go on speakerphone,
Um,
don't hold it to your ear, put it in a bag instead of in your pocket or on you. Um, is there any like cell phone covers or wallets or something that's lined with aluminum or something that can help protect us? So if we have no bags and we have to put in our pocket, that it's safer.
oh, there are shielding fabrics, and you could make a little pouch to put the phones into.
Yeah.
That's right, quite simple. And I mean, there's devices here. This is a shielding material. I use this when I'm spending too much time at the computer, just for the mouse,
Hmm.
just to cover the mouse, even though it's a wired mouse.
Hmm.
I'm usually sensitive to this. Um, I was going to say, it's very possible, and look carefully at whether your white noise device has actually got any chip in it. Because if you look at manuals, they're very proud of those chips,
Mm.
and they'll be on the box. They'll show the Wi-Fi box router chip, or not router, but just the Wi-Fi logo.
Hmm.
Looks like a fan. We all know what that looks like.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's probably on the box of products. And sometimes you'll find it. on the face of the product. It will show that there's a chip in it, because they're all very happy with that, very proud of they're putting those in there. My son-in-law has taken apart devices just to remove the chip.
Mm.
Yeah, it doesn't affect the operation of the appliance. So
And it's this chip that basically releases the radiation,
yeah,
or
it's
that's what.
sending it's sending signals
Okay.
to, I guess to the smart meter for one thing,
Hmm.
but
So that would also apply to like Roombas, like those electronic vacuums, I would imagine, because that's Bluetooth related. So,
yeah.
oh my goodness, but I love my Roomba.
Leave
I,
the room when it's working.
oh yeah. Well, I usually am off cleaning somewhere else when it's vacuuming, so I think it's pretty good. But to think of my little Kevin Roomba, I call him Kevin, can be radiating radiation all over me. That's disappointing.
And
But you know what? I
yeah,
think it's worth a try. Just like I remember there was this wave of let's be more mindful with how we use our electricity, and everything was switched to LED light bulbs, and just to save on costs. And whoa, don't tell me that's not okay too. What's going on there?
my gosh.
LED light bulbs are better. Like the old school ones are better.
Yes.
What?
If you can buy incandescent, that's a safer light bulb.
What's it?
I mean,
Candescent? How do you say that? How do you
in,
spell that?
incandescent. I'm not sure it's even still available on the market. INCANDESCENT, incandescent. It's the
Yeah.
old light bulb.
Oh my goodness.
Before those Bluetooth,
The LED.
LEDs. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. That's a whole nother discussion, but uh, there.
Well, we have a few more minutes, so I think we should talk about that because my entire house is covered in LED light bulbs except for two in my basement. So why is it that the old school one with the little antennas and that little wiggly thing in between the two is more effective than the one that is more energy efficient and lasts longer?
It has to do with the light spectrum that each form of light emits, and that the LEDs, and I there's a lot more information on this than I have right now.
Okay.
But I again, I just have experience. I mean, instant experience with these bulbs and the effect they have on me.
Mm.
And it's like everything else is cumulative. So I will get something on the website more on more detail about this, because it's a big factor in our all well being.
Hmm.
Yeah, I do want to talk a little bit more about the cell phones. Just a second.
Yes.
Using the cell phones, I think it's important that people aren't uh, carrying it around the house. I
Hmm.
mean, I think the most effective use I've seen is my youngest daughter has created a communication center right inside the door of the house, so that when she and her husband come home and they've got phones due required by the jobs, of course, they put the phones into this communication center, so they're not carrying it around the house. And
Mm.
if everybody did that, it would reduce the exposure of all of us, of everyone in the home. And so yeah, and then we talked about not putting it against your
You know
head.
what I can actually visualize right now in my home is that I have this bamboo holder where you have all the plugins for all electronics in one corner. I can actually see myself putting my laptop
Mhm.
and my iPad, the phones, and then just putting a shield blanket on top of it and put it in the corner away from our living space. You know what I mean? And and
Yes,
and
yes,
just go to it when needed.
yes. And I mean, until 10 years ago, we didn't have to be available to everybody 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
And let friends know you're going to check the phone, uh, you know, every couple of hours. You're not going if they really have to talk to you right then, call you.
Yeah.
But if
Yep.
it's sending text messages or you're not going to be available. Uh, yeah. So creating that communication center where things can be put and kept. And then this is something that's not very well known at all. When you're in a space, a home or an office, and your phone automatically connects to a Wi-Fi, put it onto airplane mode, and it will reduce your radiation from that phone by 95%.
Wow.
And and most of us you spend most of our hours in our office or at home, and the phone is connected to a Wi-Fi. So you don't. I mean, if you're going to download big data, you would need to get on to the online, but most of the time we're not with phones. Um,
And does that still
but it
apply with me using my data plan? So if I'm not using my Wi-Fi, is it safer for me to tap into my paid data plan for I guess that's the towers?
um,
Like that's what I have
try
access to.
try it,
Yeah.
try
If
it to see if it works.
yeah.
But I have found in several countries and in most homes that if you're connected to the Wi-Fi, you can put the phone on airplane mode, and it reduces. And I measure this before and after, and it reduces the radiation exposure by like 95%.
Right. So even if like
Huge.
we don't have the shield to put over electronics before going to bed, you're not going to answer your phone anyways. Put it on airplane mode or turn off your Wi-Fi
You can
router.
turn off the router. Yeah,
Yeah.
but you can actually keep the phone on airplane mode all the time when you're in the home.
So where can people find you, Beverly?
Okay, there's a new website that's going to be up this week, and it's called Kids and
Mm.
EMF.com. And on that website, I'm actually asking mothers, especially, to join a movement, the 10 million moms.com. 10 million moms for safer tech. And what I have found in the last few years is that it is moms who are going to make the changes in the families at home and in their habits.
Hmm.
And there's no reason to believe that the regulatory authorities are ever going to change their safety standards and require improvements on the telecom industry, and we can't wait for that anymore. So I'm asking moms to join this movement, and with that, they actually get a booklet on all these steps to take too. That's free, of course, and that's you can also go to 10millionmoms.org, and that will lead you to that webpage. And then when you're ready and ready for more information, the science, the regulatory issues, the legal wrangling that's beginning to happen now, then you go over to my legacy website, womensmedicine.com. I'm not sure you want to do that today. Because, if you just, or at the Medicine Bowl, just go to the page that tells you steps to take. And that will tell you what to do and how that's going to have a healthy impact on the home and the family.
Perfect. So for moms, for all the moms and women have really important little ones in your life, check the kids EMF, right? For safe technology, and then join the 10 million moms website.
10millionsnom.org.
Yes. And I get a free book guide that goes along with it. And from there, if you're like, yeah, I want to learn more, then you could check out that third link.
Yeah, go to Women's Medicine Bowl. That's
Yes.
the legacy website with the heavy information. You may
Yes.
not be ready for that today.
Oh, it's okay. Some people might be like, I'm in it. I want to dive right in. So I'll put all the information down in the show notes. But Beverly, thank you so much for joining me today. I
Yeah.
really appreciate you. And I know it's tough to talk about these hidden or I almost like to call them like invisible pains. And this is like an
Yeah,
invisible pain in a sense because we
it
can't
is.
see it. And some people may think it's foo-foo or it's a myth, but it is affecting us in some shape or form. And it's important to have awareness around it. So,
Yeah.
and if we can even make some of the shifts that we had talked about today, who knows? It could be the exact thing that we needed to heal and get better. So
Yes. Thank you for doing this. Thank
no
you for having
problem.
me.
Take care of yourself,
Okay.
Beverly, and we'll stay tuned.
Yes, we'll stay in touch. Thank you.
Well, I don't know about you, but I definitely have a checklist of things to change in my household and maybe look at things a little differently. That's for sure. But like I said before, it's not about overwhelming, just adding one thing at a time. And I think what's most important to take away from this conversation is that it isn't about doing everything all at once, like I said, but it's also becoming more aware and then choosing what feels aligned and manageable for you. Because when we're already navigating stress, family life, and everything that comes with it, the last thing we need is another layer of pressure. But small changes, those are powerful. And over time, they add up in ways we don't always immediately see. So if it's something, if anything from today stood out from you, even one small shift you can make, that's enough. Start there and let that be your next step. And if you found this conversation helpful, or you know another mom who's been curious about this topic or woman, please share this off to her. And as always, I'm so glad that you're here doing this work and finding what supports you and your family in this journey called life. So thank you for listening, and thank yourself for taking the time to learn something new here today. And don't forget to follow so you don't miss any other episodes like this on YouTube, Apple Podcast, Spotify, or Amazon Music. Have yourself a beautiful day.